welcome to episode 63 of the Boot Nerds podcast. JayMike, what's up?
We're still at it. We're still at it, believe it or not. 63 episodes in. You know what? I've talked a lot about how I was losing my mind. I think getting back to normality is going to be a little bit weird. This has just become the new norm. You know what I mean?
You're right. You're starting to get used to it now.
It's weird.
I'm still looking very much forward to some normality in my life again.
Oh my man. It's, just being able to actually go outside and, hang out with friends and do a little bit of barbecuing and, that's step one. But going back to the football pitch is going to be so amazing that I don't even know if my body is ready for the excitement about going back to playing football again. The first football match is going to be brutally bad because everyone's touch is just going to be off, but it's going to be magical. Honestly, magical.
I think if you've been juggling enough toilet paper, your touch is going to be just fine.
Yeah, let's see about that. How are you doing?
I am like yourself last week, maybe starting to go a little bit crazy now. I really miss doing certain things that I'm very much used to doing. And I don't know. It's as much as I don't like to be a routine type person, I really feel like I've gotten into a routine at this point in my life. And
yeah,
when you have nowhere to go and you can't do the things you want to do, you can't really have much of a routine. So I don't know. I find myself every single day at certain points just figuring out what do I do now? Because I've seem to have run out of things to do.
I think that's the big thing a lot of people struggle with. See, I'm lucky. We still try and make videos at Unisport. So, we're still actually doing something every day. And that's nice. So yeah, but it's also good to have the podcast to come back to on a regular basis and, keep us sane, I guess.
Yeah. You know what, though? It's times like this, I wish I was more of like a video game guy. Because I feel like if you're really into video games, you're having a good time right now. I don't know.
But I've reached a point where I've basically gone through all the games I want to play. So I've gone back and played like remasters and all that stuff. It's just I've never played FIFA Ultimate Team before because I just hate so many sweaty teams and people that are they're just out to be dicks. And I decided I'm gonna give it a go. And I played like 5-6 matches and just realized I can't be bothered. It's not for me. So it is what it is.
That's a really stressful thing to do. Like I think I did that in like FIFA 16. Like it was a very long time ago. And you're trying to like build the best team possible. And it actually gets to a point where you're thinking about it all the time. And it's unnecessary stress in your life for something that is completely made up.
But I think it's a lot of fun. The idea is really funny, but then, you start out, you have a absolutely terrible team, of course. And then you have to go and you have to play matches. And obviously everyone else has a great team because it's April. And, I kept thinking, can I just please face off against someone who has a team that's not a superstar sweaty team? And apparently not. So that's not a lot of fun. I'm too competitive. I can't be bothered if I lose all the time. So that's the way it goes. But Josh, today we're going to have a little bit of it's going to be a very cozy podcast because we are going to talk about the 5 best, most comfortable boots out there at the moment. Of course, if you enjoy these weekly podcast boot nerding sessions, please leave a like on the video right here. If you have any questions that you'd like us to answer, and we're going to do a lot more today, I promise, well, you can leave your questions in the comment section right down below. And of course, also, if you haven't already subscribed to the Boot Nerds podcast, you can go and do so by clicking, somewhere on your screen and, go do it. Hit it with notifications on. We're going to be really happy. But Josh, comfort is a thing. And it has already, it's always been a thing. Comfort's always been there. Lightweight is a new thing. Grip is a new thing. Comfort's always been there, right?
Yeah.
But how do you define it?
It's funny because I want to say that I've touched on this in the podcast before, but growing up as a kid, I would say between the ages of like 14 and 17, I didn't value comfort in football boots very much. And that's because I was so hell-bent on wearing these like really uncomfortable mercurials. And there were a lot of uncomfortable boots back then. Early synthetics are not, you might have fond memories of them. they weren't great. So
No.
I, at certain points in my life, had convinced myself that these boots were comfortable, even though I had to like wrap my foot in like 17 layers of tape in order to wear these for an entire training session. So, and I also really liked my boots to fit as tight as possible, like constantly squeezing my feet.
Yeah, that's not a good combination,
which is not comfortable, right? So as I've gone on in life, I've come to realize that for me, comfort is I can put on these boots and I can do whatever I want, whether it's sprints, easy passing, juggling, playing an entire match, and not have to worry for a second that I'm going to get a blister. Because I think that to me is comfort. If you're coming away from whatever your playing session is and you have a blister on your foot, that's an inconvenience for like an entire month. It is the worst feeling in the world leaving the pitch with a blister on your heel or something like that. So if I don't have to worry about that, that's comfort.
That's a good first step, at least I feel. For me, I would say there's that, but there's also the sensation when you put the boots on, and there's nothing really, restricting your foot. There's no squeezing. There are no pressure points in a bad way. I also like my boots I like to feel that I'm wearing boots, and I like to feel that there is something that is relatively close and snug around my foot. So my foot is not just, it's not just roaming freely inside of the boot. I don't particularly enjoy that, but it's a very subjective thing, right? But for me, comfort is also that sensation when you step into the boot. You get that fuzzy, warm feeling of just being, it's like seeing an old friend you haven't seen in a while. And especially when you come from one of these older synthetic boots where you've just gotten used to the fact that it's hella uncomfortable, and you step into a slipper like the Morelli 2s. There's just something about it when you realize how much it actually means to have a football boot that's more comfortable than the norm. And that to me is a special feeling that's hard to put into words. But the second you realize that, this is more comfortable than I'm used to, it's a very, very good feeling. I think a lot of people don't really realize how much of a difference a comfortable boot can make.
You made a really good point there in saying that you can think your boots are comfortable, but then when you step foot into an actually very comfortable pair of boots, you realize how uncomfortable the boots you've been wearing actually are. That's an excellent point. And I think in regards to what we do, wearing all kinds of different boots, so pretty much every single time we play, you really come to realize how much of a difference in feel that there is from one boot to the next. And I have a question for you. I know for a fact that you bring more than one pair of boots every single time you play. There's no way that you don't. What's the backup pair that you keep in your bag should something go wrong in regards to comfort? The pair of boots that you can put on and you're like, no matter what, this is a comfortable pair of boots for me.
Okay, let me tell you something. I actually always bring 3 pairs when I go to a match. And I know it's a little bit excessive, but there's a reason behind the madness. I always bring like an FG pair, typically a lightweight speed type of boot. I bring an AG pair, and then I just always bring a pair of Mizunos. So whether it's the Rebula or the Betas, if I'm not playing in that as the primary pair, or simply the Morelli 2s, I always bring a pair of Mizunos because I just know that is my fallback option. That is the one boot that I can always trust to just be like, it's just a slipper.
Yeah.
What would you bring if you were to go to a match as like a second backup option?
Yeah, there was a time in my life where I would wear a new pair of boots into a match and not even think twice about it. I don't do that anymore. It's not worth it. And it's ended badly so many times that I just can't be bothered to do that anymore. So I'll bring whatever boot that I feel like I want to wear in that match. And honestly, as long as I feel like I'm pretty comfortable and I'm used to the feel of the boot, I'll wear it in a match. I'm not really... I'm known to wear some good variety in that type of situation. I will typically also have a soft ground pair of boots in my bag.
Okay.
I don't know why, just because you never know. It's very rare that I get to use it. And then my backup pair, historically, for a very long time, it was the PUMA FUTURE 18.1.
Solid pick.
And then at one point it was the New Balance Tequila, the original, which I found really comfortable as well.
It
and
is,
then more recently, it's been the PUMA Future 5.1 and the Neo 2 Beta have been kind of like my fallback backups, really comfortable. Neo 2 Beta is kind of a weird pick, but that to me is one of those boots you put on your feet and it disappears. Like it can't be uncomfortable because you really don't feel it, which is kind of a weird sensation, but I like it because of that.
And that's the funny thing, right? With the betas, and I was basically I was going to touch on that when we actually started talking about the boots. But you know, there's also different ways of comfort because, as you say, you know, I don't know if you've ever stumbled upon these people, but people who try out some of the the older vapors, the older Mercurials, and they basically say, oh, they're really comfortable because they're tight, and you don't really notice that they're there. They basically just disappear on your foot. I don't really get that because I definitely feel the older Mercurials being there on my foot because they're not very comfortable to me. But with modern lightweight boots, they do have some sort of a comfort element to them because you think less about the fact that the boot is on your foot. So despite the fact that there's not much cushioning or support or anything like that, they're still comfortable because there's nothing in the way. Do you know what I mean? It's a different way of comfort.
Yeah. I think the type of fit that you get from each football boot is very much a personal preference thing, right? Because I think you can say that a Mercurial is a comfortable football boot, especially the current Vapor and Superfly. I think as far as like tight-fitting boots go, really impressive at that they're that comfortable. But not everybody likes the sensation of squeezing your feet, right? Which is where you get the opposite end of the spectrum where you have like a Nike Tiempo or a classic Copa Mundial, a Mizuno Morelia, something like that. It's still going to fit snug. You never want your boot to be loose around your foot, but some people don't like that sensation of having your foot squeezed to death. At the same time, when I hear people say that, I believe them because I've actually played with guys that either their skin is made out of like concrete or something like that. It's like indestructible, or they just like have no nerves in their feet or something like that. Because Jay, when I was probably 17 years old, I think that's accurate. I played with this guy, and this is a time when like F50 Adizero was coming out. Those weren't necessarily the most comfortable through the heel during the break-in process. No. Superfly 2 was a thing, which was just brutal. And I remember all these guys kind of lived in the same town, and I was like, I'd have to drive in like almost 40 minutes to come play with these guys for training every day, right? So they all knew each other. They were all about the same height, all about the same size. And there was one guy who would like break in all the boots for his friends. and like I had experience with a lot of these boots at this point in time. At least I had them on my feet. And this guy, brand new pair of Superfly 2s, wore them into just a straight up 2-hour running session and didn't get a blister. I'm like, I don't understand how that's possible. Like I wouldn't have even made it 5 minutes.
No, and still you have some pretty solid feet. I mean, you've actually managed to like the Mercurial Vapor 4, which indicates that, your feet are solid. So it's not all bad.
Yeah, but man, some people just they can wear anything and they're just
I know. But if we base our list on, these two definitions of comfort, you okay with that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Like the classic more plush and, padded, supportive type of comfort, and then the more nimble, disappearing on your foot type of comfort. You good?
I think comfort is not just one feeling. I think comfort comes with an explanation.
Yes. And also it's very important to say that what is comfortable for you and me might not be comfortable for you guys on the other side of the screen because of different foot shapes and preferences and, everything. It's just so, I think if we can agree on something, there might be a chance that other people find these boots comfortable as well.
Yeah. And you know what,
hopefully.
Just as a further disclaimer, I've explained this a few times in the past, but I'm not sure that everyone picks up on it. I think that it's one thing if you just like the feel of a Mercurial and you wear Mercurials every single time you get new boots. That's fine. But if you're wearing Mercurials right now, as an example, you're like, I don't know that they're the most comfortable thing for me. Try something else. Like try new things every time you get new boots, and you're going to really learn what you actually like. Because I think so many people, they force themselves to wear a certain type of boot, as I did as a kid. And yeah, you're going to have a positive experience, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be the best option for you. So don't be afraid to try new things. And I realize, like, if you're only getting one pair of boots for the entire season, maybe it's scary to try something new, but I don't think you should be as afraid as you think you should be. That made no sense, but
no, it didn't really. But I know what you mean. But that's the thing. You got to be a little bit bold, and if you don't try, you'll never learn. Basically. But Josh, what would be your first entry to this most comfortable boots list?
Okay, I'm gonna start with the one that I said I kept in my bag as a backup, and that's readily available and also very affordable because it's not the most popular right now. PUMA Future 5.1, mid-cut or low-cut. I don't think there's as much of a difference this time around as there has been in the past between the mid and the low Future. The low would be my preference just because I think visually maybe it's a little bit better. But
yeah, I agree.
It's a really comfortable boot. It's very soft and like, I don't want to say that it's heavily padded, but it's more padded than pretty much every other knitted upper out there right now. It's got a little bit of a wider shape. It's got a little bit higher volume in general. I don't know. It's just one of those football boots that I really feel legitimately doesn't need much in the way of break-in time.
I totally agree, and it's a weird sensation stepping into this for me as well because it's so wide. I mean, it's almost too wide and too comfortable and cozy for me. I simply feel like I said my foot it's got too much room to maneuver in. But there's no denying for me that it's extremely soft. It's got this nice foam package in it that's just lovely, isn't it? It's plush and it's welcoming for your foot, and I don't really have anything to complain about in terms of feeling good when I'm wearing these. Performance is another aspect, but in terms of like pure classical comfort, this is right up there amongst, the most comfortable boots in the last 5 years, I would say. It's dead comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
And it just adjusts to every foot shape somehow.
They did a good job.
Really solid.
They did a good job. What do you got?
I would probably say then if we go with my backup boot normally, that would be the Rebula 3 Made in Japan's. I just trust these guys because, not only is the leather seriously next level soft, especially when you break them in, like give them 10 minutes on your feet and the body heat starts to warm up the leather. And soften up the little fibers and stuff. It's going to be ridiculously soft on your feet. I really like the last they're built on, relatively narrow in the midfoot. They're not wide in the forefoot, but they're not squeezing your foot either. Heel is absolutely fantastic. The way it hugs and supports your heel is great. And it's just one of those boots that gives me the support I need, but without squeezing me in any way that's uncomfortable. And it just feels like one of those thick, a classy gentleman's leather gloves that you put on. And they're stylish. They're comfortable. I love them.
Funny story about a classy leather gentleman's glove.
Do I want to hear it?
Just like maybe a month ago. So I think it was like last Christmas or maybe Christmas before. I bought my brother, because I didn't know what to get him. I bought him these like leather gloves, and they were on sale. They were like $40 or something like that, right? But they were really nice, like super nice quality leather. He didn't want them. So he got me something that I didn't care for either. So we kind of just traded gifts because we liked the gifts we got each other. So I have had these leather gloves and I have them in my car. And like every once in a while when it's cold, I'll throw them on. Anyways, the last time I went to go throw them on, they'd been sitting, I probably haven't worn them for like 6 months. Went to pull them on and the leather kind of like shrunk a little bit just from sitting. And I tore them in half. So I no longer have the leather gloves.
Well, let's hope that doesn't happen to your Rebulas when that time comes. But I mean, I think I kind of know you agree with me on this. That it's pretty much a no-brainer alongside the Futures, right?
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a very comfortable pair of football boots for sure. So I think those are fairly predictable picks. I think a more unpredictable pick and a boot that is legitimately very comfortable, and I'm kind of surprised at how good it actually is the New Balance Furon V6 Pro.
How funny, I had it ready. I knew you were going to say that.
Really, really I think it's comfortable for similar reasons to the Puma Future 5.1, if I'm honest. That's, to me, that upper reminds me a lot of that, maybe with a little bit less bulk.
Padding and bulk, yeah.
Yeah, the padding's not as firm as what you get on the Puma Future with its knitted upper, but it's legitimately very comfortable, and it does give you that kind of tighter speed boot-esque fit without necessarily squeezing your feet. And if you're looking for those speed boot characteristics, I wouldn't say that it's anywhere near the top of the list of responsiveness. I don't think it's at the same level as a Mercurial in regards to that.
No.
But in terms of like aggressive traction and the feel of the sole plate, I mean, I don't want to say that they copied Nike, but it's very Nike-esque in terms of what they've done for sure.
But that's good.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. I think it's about time that somebody makes a stud pattern that's somewhat like a Mercurial. Like I'll never understand why every brand's like, you know what, Nike? We'll just let you have a stranglehold on that layout that everybody clearly loves. It's been the most popular football boot for like 20 years.
You can take it. It's yours.
We don't somewhat similar. So definitely kudos to New Balance for actually doing it.
Imagine if you slap this tooling on the betas. How insane would that be? Because it's a great outsole. I like it a lot, and it's not, that's perhaps more in the speed category. So I wouldn't say the outsole itself is comfortable because it's stiff and it's very like snappy. But the upper, oh my god, that is soft and plush, and it's it has also a slightly thick padded foam on the inside. So due to the fact that it's just knit and foam and a little bit of, like a silicone coating, there's no hard structure preventing the boot from just following the shape of your foot. Very, very, lovely pair of football boots that are on the tighter side if that's what you like.
Yeah. You know what's funny? You just talked about how flexible it is. I was making a video on the Mercurial Vapor One and
oh my God,
flexing the toe. And I'm like, I don't want to do that in the video because I'll crease the upper. And then it kind of occurred to me, I'm like, you mean the uppers on football boots don't crease anymore? That's not a thing. I don't know. Football boots have come a long way.
I think it's because they're so... But that's also the thing, right? Most football boots these days are comfortable from out of the box. Yeah. They're just comfortable to like certain... On certain levels. If you took, let's say, a Mercurial Vapor, I think it's a very comfortable football boot. I like it a lot, but it's not classically comfortable. But if you took that and put it back in 2002, people would absolutely lose their mind.
There's definite, like I was even thinking about this yesterday because again, I'm standing in my basement surrounded by football boots trying to organize stuff.
Mate, you should get out more.
Oh, it's bad.
It's not good for you this quarantine.
It's bad, but I think about a lot of these things. Do you remember when like
I can just see you standing in there looking confused and bewildered and thinking, what am I going to do? And there's just boots around you.
Anyways, my God. Unfortunately, you're not wrong. But Superfly 4 Magista Ober 1. I think people look back on these boots, have very fond memories of them. They consider them still to be the best knitted sock boots of all time. But everyone that had a pair, did you not get like a blister on your heel? The way that was constructed to have that mid-cut design wasn't necessarily the most comfortable out of the box.
True.
If you look at all the mid-cut boots now, that's not really a complaint that you see very often. Where it was honestly, a lot more
when have
common.
You last had a blister from a boot?
Oh, I'm pretty good at avoiding them now. It's been a little while. It's been a little while. Because I
think I've only had like...
Once I kind of like... Because one day, again, just thinking on my own, I'm like, let me break down. Why am I getting a blister in the first place? It's my fault. I'm just running around and I feel my foot start to hurt. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me just continue to run until it hurts, right? So now as soon as I feel it, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm stopping. I'm done. Like,
yeah. And this is why you bring more than one pair of football boots to a match. Because if this happens, you can go out and change. I think the last time I had a blister was when I was trying out like a sample, a prototype version of a boot. And it just gave me terrible blisters. And I didn't bring a backup pair because I had so much faith in this boot being super comfortable that I didn't think about it. And it was bad. It's terrible. But it's a while ago, so that's good.
Yeah, I can't even remember the last time I got a blister now that I think about it. It's been a while. Which is bad.
When was it, Superfly 1?
To be fair, when you get a blister...
Tell us that story again.
When you get a blister, once it heals, typically your skin is like battle hardened in that area for an extended period of time.
Yeah, true.
So you're not going to you're unlikely to get a blister there for a little while, especially if you're wearing the same boots. But I think the longer you go without getting a blister, you might actually become more susceptible to getting blisters.
Probably, yeah. If only the same thing applied to like blue nails. Because I think that every time my toenail grows back out on the big toe, it just falls out like that again. It just came back to life, fully recovered. Then it goes. But that's a whole other topic.
Yeah. What do you got next?
Phantom Visions. Also, I decided to bring this because it's to do a little bit of a surprise. Now, for regular viewers of the podcast, they'll probably know that we both really like the Vision 2s, and correct me if I'm wrong, but we really like them. They're solid boots, but also we're a little bit, they're not mind blowing. But one thing you can say about these is that they are extremely comfortable. Like from my side at least, there's no complaints about the comfort. This upper is so soft, it's not even funny. Especially again when you break them in a little bit and your foot starts to give up a little bit of heat. The material heats up and really starts to soften. It's ridiculous how soft it gets. It's thin. It's very soft and plush. And there's not really anything in the way of just following the shape of your foot because the upper is so thin. I really like it. It's not that classic pillow-like sensation around your foot because it is just a thin mesh and then some knit and a bit of silicone, but very, very nice experience nonetheless for me in the Vision 2s.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that's the best example out of all the knitted boots on the market right now in terms of giving you the feeling of a sock, where there's not necessarily a padded feel to it, but it just moves with your foot. There's pretty much no stiffness to the entire upper because of the way that it's constructed with that quad fit mesh. It's a very, I think it's safe to say that's out of the four main lines from Nike, that's their most comfortable option. I
would be inclined to agree, yeah.
Yeah, not much to complain about.
Because the Legend 8 is also very comfortable.
But we kind of touched on this even before we started recording. The Legend 8 on feet really feels a lot like a Phantom Vision 2.
And that's the thing.
Because the predominant sensation against your foot is that quad fit mesh. Once you make contact with the ball, you recognize, there's some more padding here that's not necessarily on the Vision. But the feel of the boot on your feet and from a comfort perspective is actually very similar.
Actually, it does feel, and we've talked about it before, it does feel like a little bit like a low-cut Vision without the whole outer shell and the lace cover. Just very, very similar, which is also why we're a little bit meh about both of them, because it's just like this is a little bit of a leather Vision, right? But nonetheless, like you can't fold it for comfort. Because it is, at least for me, this leather is just so flipping soft that it's not even funny.
Yeah, for sure. So those was what I would argue are the two most comfortable top end options from Nike. What about Adi, their main competitor? What are you picking?
It can only be the COPA 20 Plus for me. I mean, for me, there's no competitor for comfort when it comes to Adidas. I don't think Pred is up there because it's not uncomfortable, but it's not a boot I put on and just think like, wow, that is pure love for my feet. Neither is the X, and Nemesis is just, I actually don't mind the Nemesis in terms of comfort, but it's not like outstanding either. For me though, the COPA is like, this leather is just ridiculous. It has the right thickness. It's just mind-blowingly soft, and the way it manages to be snug and also slipper-like at the same time is a little bit beyond me, and it's just such a unique experience that it's hard to explain. But if you've ever tried a COPA 20 Plus, you probably know what I mean, right?
Yeah, it is one of those boots that you definitely have to try. It's by far the best laceless option out there, in my opinion. I don't think it's even close, to be honest. But I will argue with you a little bit in saying that I think the X19.1 is a very comfortable pair of football boots. Like that's one of those boots that I feel like I can confidently put on, wear in a match, and I'm not going to get a blister. I like the feel. To me, the way they did that heel liner with those like little bump out things, I personally love how that feels, and I love how it fits.
And I would agree with you, I don't know how to say this name. I agree with you a lot, but my gripe with the X19.1 would be the tongue area. I don't think that is comfortable enough compared to the rest of the boot. And then actually the heel, because for me at least, the heel feels a little bit too flimsy, and I don't fully trust it. And I don't want to give it my love. I don't want to open up and completely surrender myself to that heel, because it's just not, it needs a little bit more for me to be really, really comfortable. I agree it's a very good football boot, and it has a little bit of everything, but it can't compete with the COPA for me. But I see what you're saying.
I'm responsible for some weird explanations of describing things on this podcast.
Yeah.
But I've never said that I can't feel like I can surrender myself to a football boot. That's a good one. I knew when I said it that it was gonna, yeah. But I totally get what you're saying. Totally get what you're saying.
And then I also thought about the Tequila 2s, but I don't feel like they're as comfortable as the first generation.
I have been reflecting on that boot as well in all of my free time in quarantine. And I feel like the more time has gone on, because I think the Tequila V2 objectively is actually an improvement over the original. Like it fits a little bit better. I think it performs better. The sole plate and stud pattern, it's not hugely different, but it's an improvement nonetheless. But the magic of that boot is gone. To me, what I liked about the Tequila 1, the softness of that upper, they took that away with the Tequila V2. It's almost like when you went from like Hypervenom Phantom 1 to like Hypervenom Finish V2, right? Yeah. You still had like the Nike Skin honeycomb mesh based upper, but then they added the Flywire cables, which technically made the boot perform better, but it no longer had the like magical sensation of how the Hypervenom Phantom 1 felt on feet. That to me is kind of like the difference with Tequila V1, Tequila V2.
That was a very good explanation, actually.
It was an excellent explanation.
Yeah. A thing I kind of couldn't help but notice is missing from our list so far, because I think we've been kind of through 5 boots, and I think we kind of agree. Where are the Puma King Platinums and the Puma 1 20.1s?
Honestly, I think those are both. You could put these on a list of most comfortable football boots. I think Puma as a brand right now, one, very underrated. I understand why people maybe are a little bit sick of the Puma 1 concept, but it's undeniably very comfortable. It undeniably fits extremely well. It's for a football boot that's as responsive as that is, it's very comfortable. King Platinum,
but maybe it's just like the one is just, it's, the toe box, the vamp is extremely comfortable, but it's just like missing a little bit. Yes, you get structure and it performs very well, but it just like, I don't like the 20.1 as much as I like the 18 and the 19.1s. It's gotta be.
From a design perspective, there's things that bother me about the Puma 1. And kind of, I've never been a fan of the way that it's cut. Because out of any football boot out there, the way that it laces up, if you go all the way to the top, it does have this, it doesn't restrict ankle movement. I don't want to say that it provides some form of like ankle support or bracing.
But this was better, right?
There is a structure element to this mid-cut design more so than any other mid-cut football boot, because the laces go all the way to the top of the collar, which is unusual. And something about that has never felt right to me. And also on the latest Puma 1, the seam where the leather ends and the synthetic starts being in that spot, it's almost like the Mizuno Wave Ignitus 3. It's like, don't put a seam there. It shouldn't be there. I know I can't really feel it, but I know it's there and it bothers me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. King Platinums though are like, they're just comfortable. No
Although,
questions asked.
okay, before someone calls me out, if like there's any really hardcore boot nerds that are like, hey, what about the T90 Lasers 3 and 4? You really like those, and those have weird seams. Same with Laser 2. Well, I can like what I like, okay?
That was a brilliant answer to all the critics.
I just want to make sure.
Wow. But I mean, would you describe those boots as being comfortable?
I don't know, man. By today's standards, like a Laser 2 is shaped like a rectangle.
Yes. And you can basically take it to like a nuclear war and feel safe. But does that mean you're comfortable?
I hate when you're going off of memory of these boots that you have fond memories of. Like I want to say, kangaroo leather version of the Laser 3 is super comfortable, but I haven't had them on my feet in like 5, 6, 7 years. So I don't know my opinion is accurate.
I wore the T90 Laser 3s the other day, just because we brought them out for the From the Lab Part 2 pack, and I wore them, and I hated them. like they're so bulky, and they're not with all that bulk and with all that material. You'd think that they'd at least be super soft on the inside, but they're not. They're just there.
Yeah, but you're right. Again, it's flawed in a lot of ways by today's standards, but I still would argue that hitting a ball in a boot like that is a special experience.
Absolutely. Okay, I think that kind of concludes the list. Is there any boot out there today that you would not put anywhere close to a comfortable list right now? I'm asking because I don't know. I just got to think a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Because, oh, man. Look, I'll be honest. I don't really feel, as much as I like Predator 20 Plus, and I'm not as big a fan of like Nemesis 19 Plus, the lack of lockdown and the amount of movement of my foot inside of the boot is something that, regardless of whether or not it leads to a blister, it's something that has me concerned the entire time that I'm playing, where it's like, oh, there's a lot of movement. There's certainly some friction happening inside of this football boot. I'm very worried about running into issues with discomfort. So that lack of security for me is something that I mentally, I guess, don't find comfortable. I have a hard time surrendering myself to those football boots, I guess.
I can't really think of anything that I like straight up hate.
Oh,
comfort-wise.
I don't like the feel of the COPA 20.1. I think it's too
But it's
stiff.
not uncomfortable, is it?
It's not uncomfortable, but I think
it's just that bloody burrito style tongue. Because if they just made a normal tongue, a normal one-piece tongue like on the Nemesis, it's not a one-piece tongue, but that shape, X. Let's take X as an example. It would be an amazing football boot, but the tongue ruins everything for me.
You know what's not comfortable? At least I don't find comfortable. And I think they're really cool, and I kind of hate that I'm about to say this, but like the old school Pantofolo Doro stuff, like a Lazzarini, such a cool pair of football boots, but actually awful to play in. Like just awful.
The funny thing is, I totally agree with you, and I would actually normally say that, these guys, back then I thought Lazzarinis were, the bee's knees, they were amazing, and they softened up pretty well, but they're just not that good when you think about it.
Because what's weird about those is you hold it in your hand, you're like, oh my gosh, this leather is so nice. It's so like it's a thickness of leather that you don't see on normal football boots. But then you get to the heel liner and it's like this really thin leather all of a sudden and absolutely no padding. You just sit directly against this hard internal heel structure. And it's like very wide in shape. So unless your heel's exactly that shape, it's sliding around and like clanking against the back. Not the most comfortable pair of football boots. I think we're missing a couple though. I think like Nike Premier 2, which I have right here, inexpensive option, super simple, full leather all the way through. I think this is a really comfortable pair of football boots. Personally, I would argue this is like the most comfortable boot from the Nike brand, but that's a completely different opinion for a different podcast, I guess.
Yeah, and I know what you're saying, because they're basically just like leather that's been sitting in the sun for ages and is just melted. It's just It's so soft. But what I don't like, and we're actually gonna get into that in a question, I don't like the tooling. I don't like it. It's not comfortable for me. So maybe we should move into that question right now. Because we have a question here from RD7, and slightly long, but he basically he says that with the Nike Premier, I feel like my shots have a small decrease in power. I don't know if there's a scientifically way to prove it. I don't think there is. Maybe it's just a feeling given by the too flexible sole plate for my liking. I think Jay also said it in his review of the Premier back in the day, and I did. But it's a strange sensation that I've never experienced before. What do you think about it? Thanks if you'll answer. A great podcast. Thank you, my man. So, this is my concern. I don't like that. It's too flexible, and I didn't think it was possible. But what do you think?
I think the flexibility thing is a personal preference thing, because like I really like. I think why I like the Nike Premier 2 is it kind of reminds me a little bit of Tiempo Legend 5, which is exactly like flimsy sole plate, soft leather upper, not much structure to it, certainly not responsive. But that was, for me, like a go-to football boot. I put more hours in a pair of Legend 5s than I think I have in any other football boot that I've worn since starting SR4U. In terms of like shot power decrease due to a padded upper, mainly leather, very long time ago. Maybe it's time that I do this again. Maybe it would be interesting. But I went and bought a radar gun. And I had my father stand behind a goal, and from the penalty spot, I shot the ball straight at the radar gun as hard as I could in a variety of different boots. And the main reason why I did this is because Concave had sent me, for pretty much the only time they sent me boots.
Yeah.
I forget what it's even called, but back in the day when Concave had the big, like it was the big element. It's not just this little flimsy thing like they have now, which is why, what's the point of the brand at this point if it's going to be so small? Anyways, huge concave element. And I'm like, surely, because they're claiming these power gains, this has to increase the power of your shot. It's like a hard plastic wedge. How could it not? So I took those and a whole bunch of football boots, ranging from like regular leather, power boots, mercurials. And the variance from one boot to the next was like a total of like, I want to say it was like 3 or 4 miles per hour, which is, I kind of chalked down to human error. But the hardest shot that I took was in a pair of Vapors. And I want to say they were Vapor 8s or 9s. Maybe they were Vapor 10s. I can't remember. It was a very long time ago. But the thinnest boot I ended up having the hardest shot in. And then years later with Puma, when they had the Evo Power, remember what their explanation for the logic behind the design was that they had it thin in certain spots, the flex, and then it was thin, made for more power, and a little bit of padding made for more accuracy. So they tried to combine a combination of two of those things. So yeah, I think that there's some logic to a padded upper taking away some power from your shot, but the amount of power I think is more of a.
But he's talking about the sole.
Oh, he's talking about the softness of the sole as well.
Yeah.
Oh.
Like he feels that it's too flimsy. So basically the Evo Power, but just it feels like it just absorbs. It's like, you know, when you have something really soft and you just hit it and it just absorbs the power instead of actually returning it. It just doesn't feel very nice to strike the ball hard in, for me at least. It just feels like it's a sponge just taking all the power out of your shot. It probably doesn't, but it's just like the mental thing for me.
You know what? I'm actually going to disagree with that, because I think that for me, and I think this has to do with like personal preference, and I don't know if it's like a weight or a strength thing maybe, but I've always found that when I shoot the ball, I definitely like curl my toes back and clench my foot. Like the whole Evo Power concept really made sense to me. Like when I struck a ball in that boot, I'm like, wow, this feels very right. Whereas if I were to strike a ball, just remembering back in like a Vapor 4 SL as an example, super stiff sole plate, doesn't bend back at all. I could feel my toes curling inside of the boot, and I'm leaving like this little bit of extra space at the end because it won't bend back with my foot. So I don't know. I kind of think that a slightly more flexible sole plate for me feels better, But again, it's a personal preference thing. With a really stiff sole plate, I almost feel like I can't get my foot, or the boot can't match my foot in terms of getting in the exact position that I want to be in when making contact with the ball. But
That's
again,
fair.
I think everybody's going to be a little bit different because everyone looks different when they strike the ball.
I agree. I think I strike the ball very different to everyone else. Maybe that explains why I suck so bad, but that's a whole other discussion. A question here from Trey Dill. What are your favorite signature colorways / models from footballers that aren't Messi CR7, R9, or Ronaldinho?
Oh, man. There's not that many then when you break it down for the most part.
Actually, a lot when you think about it.
There's but they're like all over the place.
I'm gonna say a name right now.
Okay.
It might be a little bit weird, but I'm gonna say Francesco Totti.
With in the Diadora days or the
Legend
Tiempo
5 days.
Yeah, Legend 5, that gold one. Actually, just had them in my hands yesterday.
Was that the? No, I was thinking about
Legend. That was a Legend.
That was the 6.
No, the Tiempo was the black one with the chrome.
The black and chrome one, the 5s. But I forgot about the gold ones. The
gold one
6s,
was
they're
a 6.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah, those are cool too. I forgot that they did too. Also,
Andrea
the
Pirlo?
Pirlo, those were excellent. The like maroon colored ones.
Oh, beautiful!
The like champagne
red wine.
The red wine. That's what it was.
Oh,
very cool.
Amazing.
Yeah. But I also really like some of the Totti Diadoras were pretty cool.
Cool as well, yeah.
I remember seeing those at the store and being like, that's pretty sick. It's not really a signature colorway. It was kind of more of a signature boot because he was, I believe, like one of the only players wearing it. But the Thierry Henry Reeboks, when he switched
they were
Vapor
nice.
3, the very first one.
The white one, right?
Was pretty cool looking. Yeah, the white one. Actually, even the Sprint Fit 2 with like the off-centered lacing system, that had a really clean look to it. I admired those as a child, but I was also just a big Thierry Henry fan. So there's that. Okay. I'm trying to think. What do you? Oh yeah. Oh, it's funny because it's been a little while now, but Beckham was like for the Adi brand. That was
signature
the guy.
boot guy.
Yeah, that was the guy. Yeah, the Predator Paul Silver Dragon colorway, incredible. One of my favorite looking boots of all time. I
also like the navy electricity Adi powers he had. Those were clean too.
See, I don't like those.
You don't like them?
No, I'm not a fan of that colorway at all. The gold ones were better. The gold with the red
golds
stripes,
were really good, yeah.
Those were nice. Oh man,
do you remember these? Do you remember the signature boots the Puma made for Balotelli that actually had the mohawk on? I just want to mention it because it's really stupid.
It was just a kid's boot. It had the mohawk.
It was a kid's boot, yeah.
Back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those were something.
Anyways, we have a question here from Samuel Paintsel. Hey, JayMike and Josh, with the technology of uppers improving every day on the top model football boots, do you think in the near future there will be a fully Flyknit upper on takedown model football boot, say the Vapor 13 Pro with a Flyknit-like upper, and would they sell more than the top-end models? I actually think that's a pretty good question.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I do, because we do see technologies trickle down as new technologies come out.
Yeah.
Right? Like Kangalite used to be more or less exclusive to top-end models. Now it's kind of used as a takedown material once in a while from Nike.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's the key word here. It's that top-end technology trickles down once new, better, more marketable technology arrives. So I'm quite confident we're going to see Flyknit on. I don't know if we're going to see Flyknit as in, because I think that once they're going to change up their knit technology, their way of knitting right now might be considered obsolete in a couple of years' time. So we're going to see that type of knit on a Vapor Pro at whatever number it's going to be called. But I think they might adjust the Flyknit name to still be like the top end manufacturing procedure. Do you know what I mean? So we might not see the name Flyknit come down, but we might actually see the technology, the weave structure, the weave technology trickling down. I'm pretty certain of that.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think what replaces Flyknit. That's my thing. I don't know. I legitimately don't know, but I don't know. I think football boots is also a tricky market because if you look, I've been asked this a lot. Like, why are American football cleats that utilize a lot of the same technologies and materials as the soccer cleats or football cleats, as the rest of the world calls them?
Soccer,
right? But if you look at the American football stuff, it's like almost half the price of football boots.
It is,
and it has all the same technology, and that's because they charge what they think they can get for it for the most part. And the football boot market it's really the only piece of equipment that people are buying on the regular. So
have you seen those? I'd prefer if we call it hand egg boots in the future, because that's more appropriate. Have you seen those? Like we can talk about those in another episode. Those absolutely insane. What are they called? Vapor. Those American.
I don't know what they're called. I can't remember the name.
No.
I posted about them a few times on Instagram.
Yeah,
but it looks like
the Mercurial Phantom Vision combo.
Yeah, it looks like a hybrid of both of those. Flyknit upper, and I think it retails for like $200.
Yeah.
So it's less than both the Mercurials and the Phantom Visions, which is interesting. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with Flyknit. I don't see it being on a takedown model anytime soon, but I definitely think it's possible.
I think it's going to happen. Just like we saw Nike using their Teijin synthetics on the takedowns. Who would have thought that a couple of years back? I think it's going to happen. I don't know what's going to be after Flyknit, probably some sort of other weave or 3D printing thing, but you never know. But I definitely think we're going to see what we see now on the at least the Superfly 6s and the Vapor 12s. That might arrive on the takedowns in a couple of years. It's just a guess. You don't agree, I can tell in your face.
I'm
the saddest face ever.
I'm so, Jay, at this point, I'm like so curious to know what they're going to do next. Because I realize like this 3D printing technology thing is becoming more and more popular. But I kind of view like 3D printed knitted uppers as just like more complicated ways of making a knitted upper that aren't necessarily better at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
We're just making it because, it sounds cool that it was 3D printed. It's just like, have you seen like a lot of brands are like trying to like help with this coronavirus situation and build these like face shields? And Adidas in particular is building these face shields, and then they're 3D printing this like the little thing have you seen those? And it's like the sole from those running shoes. And it's like the most overcomplicated way of building this.
Build the flipping face mask.
Like you could have just used a regular piece of foam. It would have been cheaper, and you could probably build 100 times more quickly. It was funny. I was looking at the comments because a lot of the sneaker Instagram pages were posting it, and the top comment was like, "What's the resale price?" It's true. It's 100% true. I love it. Anyways,
yeah. So let's see what happens in the future. That's the best. We're the nerds, we're the experts here. So that's awesome. Now, but guys, that was the last question for today. So if you have a question you'd like us to answer, leave it in the comment section right down below. If you vehemently disagree with our list, then let us know in the comment section below as well, telling us off what comfort is. Leave everything in the comment section right down below so we can get a discussion started. Of course, also, if you haven't liked the video already, what are you doing? Hit the thumbs up button, and also while you're at it, don't forget to go subscribe to the Boot Nerds podcast by clicking the green, or it's white now, the white bubble in the middle of the screen. If you want to click the green bubble, well, you can go subscribe to Unisport, and also you should make sure you go subscribe to Josh's channels, SR4U and Car Problems, by clicking somewhere over there on the screen. And with that said, I don't have anything more for today. I'll see you guys later. I'm Jay, and I approve this message.
Peace.